Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for a recap of both Maywood Fest and Summer Jam. In this video, we're going to take a look at the highs and lows for that event. And with no further delay, let's go ahead and get into it. So, in looking at the event, the very first thing I want to do is to focus on the actual lineup. And so, as you may or may not know, Summer Jam in particular was a 2-day event, with the first day being the comedy show, and then the second day on Sunday was going to be the R&B Fest. Unfortunately, right off the bat, there were some problems. Although the promoter in their advertisement states that the lineup is flexible and that potentially artists may be changed out or may not, or may change at some point in time, there were a few problems based on who was supposed to have performed versus who actually showed up. So, for example, for Summer Jam Night number 2, the R&B group Silk did not show up, and there was apparently a problem with a possible cancellation of Kiki White, one of the main performers, which over time eventually got worked out. But here is the post that was made by the entertainment group that was representing her. And it reads, unfortunately, due to contractual obligations not being met and respected, Kiki White will not be performing at the Labor Day Summer Jam. Kiki truly wanted to be there and share the moment with her fans. She sends her love and looks forward to coming back soon when the business is handled the right way. So that definitely is a very strong message that was being sent, that obviously business wasn't being taken care of on the back end, but eventually they worked it out and she was able to perform at the Summer Jam. Which brings us to the promoter. And I have to clarify this because there's been some misinformation that has been put out there, which basically states that Maywood was responsible 100% for Maywood Fest, but they had no real involvement as far as the promotion or the actual Summer Jam. That event was solely the promoter's responsibility, and the promoter was in charge of that. However, when you look at the advertising for this whole event, Maywood and the Power Move production were basically put in the situation in which they were made to look that they both were involved with the promotion of this event. And even more so the Village of Maywood, because you can see clearly that the Village of Maywood's logo is in the upper right hand corner. So anyone thinking that they're coming to this concert would normally necessarily believe that it's the Village of Maywood who's responsible for any of the content or any of the activities that occur at the event. What even gives that more credence or reinforces that is the recent promotion of Summer Jam on the NBC Chicago Nightly News.
We have a comedy show tomorrow that's also hosted by Lil Ray. That's at 7 o'clock from 7 to 10.
Wow.
And then Sunday really is a huge day. From like 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. we have music selections from the Isley Brothers, Tank, Tyrese, Kiki Wyatt, Jacquees, Silk, 3-piece. So many different entertainers are going to be here on Saturday. So it's going to be a crazy thing.
Even in this post, it says the Village of Maywood, in association with Power Move Presents, is proud to bring you Maywood Fest featuring Summer Jam 2025. This year, we are trying something different. We are adding more intense entertainment, 2 stages, along with food and retail vendors. That makes it seem, once again, that the Village of Maywood is promoting both of these events as something that is a product of their potential activities. So now let's get to the lineup. The headliner, or the actual MC for the event, for the comedy show, was supposed to be Lil Rel, but unfortunately he was another act that didn't show up. So the comedy show lineup that was supposed to be a bunch of comedians and then also some DJs turned into something else. It was like they had comedians who, when they came to perform, it was as though they were just trying to wing it. The comedy overall was really weak. in the sense that it wasn't really funny to the masses of people. And then after that, they had a lineup of just random people, some local female rappers, a local singer, and then it went into a finale that I don't think anybody was expecting. So before I play the video footage, I just want to put this warning up here. I basically silenced the audio because I really want you guys to focus on the imagery, but I have uploaded the actual raw video footage to the Maywood Watchdog website so you can see just how foul what happened really was, and in addition to that, I also put some supplemental video to kind of reinforce what I'm going to try and show you guys today. So once again, I want you to focus on the images and the things that I'm saying in this video. The first thing we have to do is take a look at the promoter to get insight into what was actually promoted on Summer Jam night number one as far as the finale. So, while trying to find more information about the ticket prices for the Summer Jam, I stumbled on the promoter's next scheduled event. Their next scheduled event that they're going to be promoting is at a gentleman's club, or as we know, that's just code word for a strip club. And the reason why I point this out is I want you to look at the imagery and the portrayal of women in the pictures, and then you'll understand more about the content and the performances that occurred at Summer Jam. So, with no further delay, I'm going to go ahead and play the video footage.
Hold on, child. Hold on, child. Hold on. She say she outside for the summer. Shots of tequila left the baby with a mother.
Okay, now that's just a little introduction, but I wanted you to pay close attention. This is the billing for the event. It clearly states on the comedy flyer that you can bring your family to this event. So let's see what other tidbits they had for your family. Yep, that's right. Some good old S&M or sadomasochism. You basically got to watch women beat each other up on stage. And it gets worse. Now it even gets more sexually explicit. We're in this video. This one lady gets on the backside of the other young lady and begins to ride her and emulate like she's having sex on top of her. Yep, and in case you missed that, so in this video, not only is the girl in front beating the girl in front of her, but in addition to that, this lady felt that it was a good idea while getting beat to bend over and basically spread her own butt cheeks. And this somehow was supposed to be family friendly entertainment. This point in time, I wasn't the only one who was sick and tired of it. This is where the grown folks got up and decided to leave the room. I have never seen people start running for the exit like this. They had had enough of this foolishness. It got so bad, people started folding up their lawn chairs and, folding up their blankets, and they were out of there. They weren't going to sit there and tolerate that, but they just didn't know. It even got worse after that. Which brings us to whether or not the village of Maywood ended up violating their own ordinances by promoting that type of adult entertainment within the boundaries of our community. So, if we look at specifically Ordinance 130.54 that deals with unlawful adult entertainment, it speaks directly to this issue. In that ordinance, it specifically states that Any obscene or indecent activities or entertainment, including but not limited to lewd and lascivious behavior. Lewd, meaning to be crude or inoffensive in a sexual way. Lasciviousness, meaning or is a state or quality of being lustful and overtly sexual. Which begs the question, what do you think? When you see images like this or like this, does that seem lewd to you? Or how about this? Any lasciviousness that you may have observed? Oh, and it only gets worse from there. This is actually a prayer that was put into the May newsletter. And I think at a board meeting in April or May, this is a prayer that was said, in somewhat condemnation of the divisiveness between allegedly different board members. And a statement was made to the effect of what type of investor would like to invest in a community where the leadership is involved in a bunch of fighting and backbiting. So, even though there's supposed to be a separation between church and state, I think it's important that when the word is used, that it's really taken and looked at in context. So let's take a look at specifically this excerpt from this prayer. It says, our words and actions are as deep waters and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. God has given us wisdom, and out of our mouths cometh knowledge and understanding. Our mouths are a well of life. Death and life are in the power of our tongues, and we choose life. Therefore, we will not let any corrupt communication proceed out of our mouths, nor our actions. Well, we already know the visuals from that performance definitely don't align with the prayer, but let's take a look at some of the audio. And like I said, I've put the actual video footage online so you can hear it for yourself. But the reason why I picked this particular group is because I believe that these, and I'll use the term lightly, these young ladies, their video is actually the blueprint for the dance, quote unquote, routine that the girls did during the show. So I think it's very important to get the backstory to see really what they're promoting to our young people specifically. So I'm going to put my old lady rap skills to work. It says, I'm going to talk about in it. And if he want the cat, he got to spend it. He claimed he smacked this blank. No, he didn't. Can't be running around the city like we did it. What the F? Dropping salt? Why you effing up my image? Can't let him hit it cause he trying to tell the business. Won't F him, won't S him, can't kiss him. Can't let him hit it cause he trying to tell the business. Won't F him, won't blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And then the last part, she goes on to say, the you know what is like a faucet. And it just gets worse and worse with each verse. And what I really want to highlight is if people say, oh, well, there probably weren't kids there. This was an open air event where anybody driving down First Avenue saw everything and heard everything that was being performed on stage. It was open air. And in addition to that, if you did not want children to be exposed to it, why would you have a fully fledged carnival operating the night of until 10 o'clock in the evening if you didn't think children were going to be exposed to it? I mean, look at this. Children everywhere. And when I came out of the show, I actually saw about 6 to 8 boys kind of huddled down, hiding, watching the show. So this is what we felt as leadership was appropriate to put in front of the children of our community. And what you haven't seen on Facebook or any other platform in the curated imagery of this event being so successful, you haven't seen anything, and it's been a month since Summer Jam, and there's been no statements and no apologies for this type of thing being put on full display for children to take in. I mean, look at all of them. Back in my day, Whitney Houston had a song that the children, were the future. Well, if the children were the future, then that means we're the present. And since when did it become appropriate as adults to put what we do with our private parts in front of children and put that on public display as a form of entertainment? We have to understand, children are like the saying, their minds are like a bowl of jello. You want to put as much good stuff in them before they set. Just imagine the negative and nasty imagery that has been put in the minds of these children as far as the relationship between men and women in our community. And I find that to be even more so hypocritical, knowing that just a few years ago, the village of Maywood passed the ordinance because adults got tired of seeing these young boys out there with their pants sagging. Now, let me get this straight. You're going to find those boys and their parents for them sagging, but then the village of Maywood turns around and puts on a whole entire mimicking of a strip show, and that's deemed to be appropriate? I mean, look at this imagery. What does this say about specifically a Black woman? If we're not face down, butt up, with a man behind us gesturing that this is okay, then this is the new standard of who we are. And look at this picture. You can see that there's a man back there fuming. And if you watch the video close enough, you'll see he's all smiles and loving every bit of it. What is this saying to the young boys in our community? And what is it saying to the young girls in our community? Instead of us bigging up, the Crockett's out there, the Miss Crockett's, we're bigging up the Sexy Reds. Instead of us advocating for our boys to aspire to be surgeons, we're sitting up here promoting Lil Wayne. And then you wonder why there's an issue with how the young people in our community function. And then when you look at what our leaders in Maywood used to promote, they used to promote pride and dignity. And when you look at the rich history of Maywoodians, Michael Finley, businessman, former NBA player, Walter Parazater, founding member of the band Chicago. And then what about this? The first Black flight director of NASA. And then let's get into the acting world. Dennis Franz. I mean, come on, if you grew up in the 80s, you have to know this face. We actually had an astronaut from Maywood. He's touted to be the last man to have walked on the moon. And then let's not even talk about Sheila Johnson, a co-founder of Billionaire, who co-founded BET. I was like, and then if we even talk about just modern day Maywoodians, Fred Hampton Jr., and then Doc Rivers, with the rich history and the greatness that's come out of Maywood, that's the imagery that was put before us that night, that there was images and music that labeled us to be the N word, the B word, the H word, and that basically degraded everybody in our community. And that's what leadership felt was entertainment. So in closing this thing all out, I would have to give Summer Jam night number 1 a big, strong, fat F. F because it was foul, F because it was filled with tons of foolishness, and F because it was an abysmal failure. And the reason why I felt the need to do this critique or this review is that if we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we're going, and it should never, ever be thought by our leadership to think in the future to bring this type of negativity back to our community, because that's not who we are as a people, and that's not who we are as a community. So with that being said, that's the end of part one. In part two, I'm going to go to the light side. Like I said, there was more positive things than there were negative things in reference to Maywood Fest and Summer Jam, and I really want to end this series on a positive note. So definitely stay tuned. I'm going to deal with the economics of the event. I'm going to deal with just how organized it was and a lot of the positivities. So once again, I thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm Claudia from the Maywood Watchdog, and I'm out.